Yeah, exactly.
How'd the vision mission statement process go? Anyone want to, hard, easy, fun?
It was very difficult.
Why was it difficult?
Because I really had to examine like where I stand and where I want to go in my career, and planning that out. And
Were you glad you did it?
yeah. I don't know if I did a great job.
No, but it doesn't matter. It's a start. You know, these things are a start. And again, in one of the readings, they said if you do a good job now, you don't have to do it again for 10 years. So if you have a good plan, you know, and it may take time. And as we go back and we talked about Acme Films, you know, and it's like, it's hard because it's just you. Like, you just have to make it work for you. And then you start thinking about you're in wherever, Palm Springs, and you're eating, you know, chicken salad sandwiches on, you know, on a croissant, and you're talking to a person next to you, and you have totally different views of what the organization you work for, you know, are, and you can't even agree on the right word, and then you come up with words like alternative, and you know, because you all have different ideas. So for you, you just have to find words, and I do think it's important to find words that you get behind, because if it's empty, again, whether you agree with alternative or not, if you just like, I don't know what that means, I can't get behind that, you won't, right? And you'll be like, that was just something I wrote for a class and I don't really care, right? Anyone else? Anyone find it easy? What?
I found writing the vision easy, but if you were to do a dream resume, then you have practical steps to get.
It wasn't a dream resume. It was an aspirational resume. It wasn't like a dream sequence. And then...
It was kind of like a dream. Yeah, because I guess I don't know exactly what possible steps are to get there. And then when I like wrote down ideal positions, it seemed like I was excluding other things that I wanted to do. I don't know.
Well, everything is a choice. Every time you do something, you're going to, you know, not do something else, right? But it's a start. And the more you start to define it, you know, sometimes I feel when you do this, you may realize that what you want is actually much closer than you think it is. And it involves, you're like, oh, you know what, I can do that where I am. Or all that takes is me walking and having a conversation with my boss, like, look, over the next 3 years, this is what I'd like to be able to achieve here. Does that seem reasonable? They're like, sure. Well, we'd like you to start here and there, or they may say, never happening, you know? Or it may be, you totally want to change what you're doing. We talked last week about not the dream job, but the sort of the quit fantasy. You know, it's like, I'm out of here, and you know, you won't talk to me like that. There was one thing someone sent me on YouTube, or one of those, a woman who quit on the air. She cursed on the air. She's like, bleep, bleep, I'm out, you know? and then they cut to the anchor. The anchor's like, oh, sorry about that. We'll be right back, or we won't be right back. But that was her quit fantasy. And again, not very smart, obviously, because no one's going to be hiring her anytime soon in any job, right? Because it doesn't seem very professional. Any other comments on doing it? Hard, easy? In the back?
I thought well, at least I found writing the resume part was sort of interesting. Like, I felt like I had to do like some research sort of to like say, well, what would lead me here and there, and then find out like what would that job title be called,
Right.
Et cetera. So I thought that was,
And was it helpful?
I thought so.
And again, like I said, all these things can kind of fit together. So if you're having trouble with, you know, you said the vision was easy, but the resume was hard. I think for other people, the resume was easy and the vision's hard. And sometimes you can kind of back into it. You can say like, all right, well, what's something I want to do tomorrow? And we don't, you know, let's forget about like the big, hairy, what is it, audacious goal. Let's just think about what do I want to do in the next year or so? I want to do this. And then what can that be? Because sometimes, I've also seen this, particularly in the film business, where someone has a goal, they want to make a movie. What happens is they get into the big hairy realm before they actually have done the movie. So they start saying, I want to make this movie, but I'm going to turn it into like a brand, and we're going to have an amusement park, we're going to have a radio talk show, we're going to do live stage, and that's all great, but if you get your mind so far in this giant, big netherworld, you lose the focus that you need to do this first. And then you can worry about all those other things. Any others? How was it for you? Here we go.
What's that?
How was it for you?
It was good. I think it'll be a lot easier. This is my first semester, so I think when I'm graduating, it'll be a lot easier.
Yeah.
This is like a first draft, and I
Right.
think it was pretty rough, but when I graduate, I feel like I'll know what I have to do and what I have to focus on. Like that.
Good. And again, a lot of, sometimes, you don't need to know what you want to do. And sometimes keeping it broad, if you want to be a good person, you probably want to, on some level, want to be that. Maybe you want to be successful financially, or you want to make something sort of change the world in a positive way, or you want to do something like that. And until you write it down, it's just this kind of nebulous thing. In this class last semester, we had, I may have mentioned this, we had a group of people from Burning Man. Anyone here been to Burning Man? No. I then went out to dinner with the people there. There was 6 people, including Charlie Warner. Charlie Warner, and they're all been. I've been to Burning Man 17 times, 18 times, and I was like, I've never been. But there was an artist there, and he's like, I always wanted to do some big artist installation. Starting off with the fact that he wasn't an artist, he was a business guy. And so it's like, that seems like an impossible goal. But eventually he led it into this thing, and it took these steps, and once he wrote it down, it turned into something. And it took like 10 years, and he ended up having this giant sort of art installation in Vegas where they blew up a building, and all because he wrote it down. Again, he wasn't an artist. So, it's like, that's a hard place to start from if what you want to do is something big in the art world. But it's a good way to start.
I think it was really empowering.
Good.
It felt like my dreams became like real things. Just
Right.
looking at them on the paper and
Totally.
steps.
Because they're real. They're real now. They're not just some, because, there's an old saying is the house of self-delusion is easy to live in, but, is easy to build, but half drafty to live in. Because you can be like, I'm going to be all these things, but until you have a plan to do it, it's much easier to just talk to yourself about that, and it's very vague. But you write it down, you're like, this is what I want to do. All right? Now, how am I going to do it? And then you're talking practical stuff versus, because it's much, and then when it's not written down, it can be nebulous, and it can be whatever you want in that moment. You're like, oh, I didn't really want to do that. I really wanted to do this. But write it down, and it may change, and you may say, like, you may migrate from it, and this is an experiment or whatever, an exercise for you, but it's the same thing an organization has to be. What do we want to be? They have a thing now called a B Corporation. Anyone know what a B Corporation is? You want to try? No? Well, it's a new sort of thing where, because some businesses like Ben & Jerry's say, we want to do something good in the world, therefore we're going to donate before they had any profit. So again, it's hard to do, but sometimes easier to do. We want to give, I forget what it was, 5% of our profits to charity, right? And they just said that before they'd ever made a penny. It's a lot easier when you're making a whole lot of money that's something you're going to do. But that's the kind of, and again, that makes it easier to go to work for them. A B corporation is a new sort of form of corporation where you say, we are going to have a social mission as well. So Warby Parker, the glasses company, yep. What did you say? Oh, sorry. Warby Parker does that. So they, it's the same idea of you buy a pair of glasses, they'll give a pair of glasses to someone in a low-income area of the world. And what they were saying is that becomes part of the mission, and that becomes part of the strategy. And so therefore, it's not like you need to discuss, well, how should we allocate our profits? Because then you get, but if you say that's what we represent, and that's who we want to be, it gets a little easier, right? Anybody else? Yeah?
Just to clarify, did you say B corporation as in to be or not to be, like as in the word like B, we want to be this, or are you saying B is
Be like as an A, B, C, class B, yeah.
and that's
I like us to be or to not to be. It's a very, it's a Shakespearean thing. Yeah. No, it's a classification. So there's a C corps, there's a B corps, there's S corps. It's still kind of uncertain and vague, but it's a cool thing. And they actually said that Ben & Jerry's ultimately sold themselves to, I don't know, Procter & Gamble or some big company like that. I forget. Maybe not Procter & Gamble. Maybe General Mills. Unilever. Excuse me. Okay. So Unilever. And who knows what the truth is or not, but they may not have had to do that, but there was pressure on making money. But if they had had the freedom of saying, no, we are required to have a social mission. There's a company, Participant Pictures, anyone familiar with that? Participant Media is part. Yeah. So it's Jeff Skoll. Again, he's very wealthy. He was the first president of eBay, and so he started a film company. And what he has is what they call a double bottom line. I think he may even come up with the term. Is on one level, the bottom line is do social good, and the other level is make money. For a while there, it was just do social good. The problem in the film business, if you're doing just social good, you get these kind of, they're sort of treacly. They're not necessarily good movies. They kind of feel like they're sort of too feel good. So they did Good Luck and Good Night. They did An Inconvenient Truth. They did, I think they were involved in 12 Years a Slave. A number of big movies that were successful. And they always have an educational component that goes along with their films as well. Anybody else on the vision and mission? Yeah?
For me, the problem was to differentiate between myself and my company. I already own the company, and the vision for the company is very clear.
Good.
It was not difficult, but it was something I had to work on. The difference between the vision for the company and the vision for myself.
Right. Well, that's almost two different exercises, really. So, you could have chosen whichever way. In theory, this was meant for you, but sometimes you become the company and the company becomes you. So that may just be a semantic way of defining the task, really. So, anybody else?
The trickiest thing for me was figuring how to use the terminology of the vision statement, like how concrete it should be. Like it shouldn't be too concrete because then it limits
Right.
what you are, but then it shouldn't be so abstract as to be meaningless.
Exactly. It's hard. It is hard. That's a very good point. And again, like we'll do throughout the semester, these are all tools or exercises. So you may come up with something you're like, what, I don't need this. I'm going to create my, vision or something like a combo or something. Who knows whatever works for you. But for the purpose of this is a way to approach it. And some people have different opinions of what a vision is and what a mission is. But I think as long as it's starting you to think in that way, I think that's powerful. And you start to think of what is it you want to be and what you're trying to become, because it's very easy to go off track. And we've all seen people that kind of go off track, or organizations that go off track, where they kind of lose track of what it is they represent or what they're supposed to be representing, or what they want to be. And it gets hard, it gets hard, and sometimes you can sort of lose your way in that regard. Anybody else? All right. Sorry. So you want to just talk about the news quickly, and maybe we can sort of bring some of this all back together. Anything happened in the news in the last week related to media? Nothing?
A lot of the network television fall premieres are happening.
Right. So what is that about?
Well, it's about which pilots were chosen to go to series and they're taking a chance on. And they announced that all broadcast networks are now doing projections for Live Plus 3 and Live Plus 7 ratings.
Do you want to describe what that is?
Sure. So.
So Live Plus 3, Live Plus 7 just is a way of categorizing ratings.
Yeah, because it used to be just live, and then there was live same day, and you can tell this by DVRs. It doesn't. I'm not sure if it accounts for online at all, or.
It's mostly just DVR,
yeah. But so Live Plus 3 is Live Plus 3 days. So you count everybody who watched it during that time period, and Live Plus 7 is everybody who watched it during the week. So all the networks are now, by issuing those projections, are saying this matters and this will affect our advertising deals.
Right.
And last year it was only Fox did it.
Right.
So,
and so if you're, who wants to measure it Live Plus 3 plus 7? Do you even understand? So it's again, if you talk about measurements, it's how are you doing, all right? A rating is how many people watched. And what do they use those ratings for? Advertisers. So who wants it to go Live Plus 3 plus 7, and who doesn't want to?
The advertisers want to guarantee their advertising deals with the media partners
Right.
on the most amount of days as possible. Right?
Kind of, Kind of. They want to get the most, again, it gets into how much you're going to charge, right? And they want to know how many people saw their ad, right? Now, when you expand it out to 7 days, it's like, is it the same watching it on a DVR as it is watching it live? Yasmin?
No, it's not, because then people are going to skip the commercials. So advertisers want the show to have the highest possible ratings when it's live.
Right. In theory, right? Because you can't fast forward to it, because advertisers want you to sit there, watch their ad, and then say, wow, that's affecting my Maslow's hierarchy need to belong. I'm going to go get some brew, right? And then hang out with my friends and be part of something. Because if I buy this beer, I'm going to have a lot of friends, and we're going to have good times, right? But if I skip through it, I don't know. The other challenge for advertisers are, sometimes advertisers want you to do something very specific in the near term. I want to give an example of that.
Like if there's a promotion that you're trying to get people to.
Right.
For example, a brand I work on right now, we're trying to get them to do a pop-up shop. in
Right.
DC. So we need it's like we're only going to promote it for 4 weeks. So we need them to.
Right. So if you're promoting it for 4 weeks, on, say, the Wednesday before your last week, you don't want to be counted for 7 days later, because Monday, Tuesday, you're already gone, right? So what's another example? Election was a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. Vote for me. Yeah, we had a really good pull. Unfortunately, it was on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday after Election Day, so sorry.
Movie release.
A movie is a perfect, right? Because a movie release, what do you want people to do? Go see the movie. You really want them to go see it Friday. You want them to act on Friday. So if you're running an ad on Friday, you don't really want to be charged for that ad for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because the die has already been cast. Did the movie open or not? Was it a bad, because it may be out of theaters or fewer theaters by the following week. So this is that, again, nothing is easy, obviously, and always things are going to be somewhat complicated, but that's going to see this friction between advertisers and the networks, where they're trying to decide. The networks want to say, look, a lot of people are watching our shows. Even though the net number's fewer, they're watching it time delayed, whether they're watching it later that day. And you were the one that watches Saturday Night Live, right? Yeah. So you're not even a problem. You're like the dream. You're a young male that watches live TV. You're like a unicorn. But sort of makes sense, right? Anything else? But that was good. And lastly, this whole idea of introducing the new shows in the upfronts or for the fall season is also sort of a fading process. I mean, that's the way it's been done forever. And as we talk about strategy, and even some of the readings about changing your habits or changing the way things are done, because sometimes you just do, this is the way it's been done for so long, it's just a habit, right? We're going to say something? We'll come back to this.
Oh, yeah, similarly, like a sporting event, either televised or live.
Right, exactly. Yeah, certainly a sporting event, you don't want to be, first of all, not a lot of people, you're not going to have very big ratings in theory the next, after that day. You might have same day, like some people that watch it. Sorry, I'm just trying to turn this off. But you don't really want to get charged for 3 days later, but you're not going to really have ratings for that. I mean, there's not a lot of people that really want to watch the Giants game, today even, really. Yeah. After that just very sad ending. And some, we've all experienced people that watch, I don't know if you have, but where you watch it with a friend or a relative and they've time delayed it, and they're like, oh, I watched the Super Bowl with my cousin. He's like, nobody answered the phone because, the game was already over. And so, but you're living in this kind of weird time warp. Because he DVR'd it because he wanted to skip the, it was crazy. Yep.
Do ratings count for on demand?
For on demand?
Yeah.
Well, tell me how that would work.
Well, like Comcast, they can watch a show on demand.
Yeah, but do you have to watch? I'm trying to think. Do you have to watch those ads?
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of have to watch those ads. So that's a different experience. That's not the same as the channel, I think.
Yeah. Well, you have to watch. You do have to watch the ads.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure when that gets counted. Actually, do you know? No. Anyone else? Any?
I think there's an advantage then to the Hulu model where they can change the ads daily, they know when you're watching it, even if you're watching it much after it
Right.
aired on network television. Whereas when it's recorded from DVR, you're
Right,
you're
you
tied
can't
to
do it.
the ads that aired during the live broadcast.
And you can click through it.
They'll also ask you, like, is this ad relevant to you? And then if it's not, they'll like switch
Right.
it over to find one.
Exactly. And that's something, saying like Pandora or something like that, they'll sort of make you do something, right? Because they're saying, like, we're giving this to you, but you have to do this for us. You have to watch this. But going to Hulu, Hulu just announced a new series, as did Amazon, and you start to see all these things that are happening is that, you have the old model of live TV, then you have this, kind of arms race in Hulu, Amazon, Netflix, all trying, and Crackle. Crackle has a new series as well. So you're starting to see this sort of spread of content away from cable. I think we've done this before. How many people actually get cable? All right. And how many people want to get rid of cable? All right. And will you do it?
Already good.
No, behind you? Are you going to get rid of it? What's going to make you do it?
It's just that you see so much.
So call me. I'm Comcast. Hello, you want to cancel?
No,
Why do you want to cancel?
because it's a waste of money and I can just do fine.
How dare you? So it's a waste of money. What's the waste of money?
Because you're spending a whole lot of money on a package of channels you don't want. Like, if you just want to watch one channel, you have to pay for 70 other channels you're not going to.
What's the channel you want to watch? If you feel comfortable. What's that?
Comedy Central.
Comedy Central. Okay, yeah. But Comedy Central's not worth whatever $100 a month for you, right?
No.
Right. So, and then you start thinking, all right, I like to be amused. Are there other places I can go? This is where you start thinking about it. And you could go to Funny or Die or something like that, and start getting. And you can also go to Hulu and get some of that content. So why aren't you doing it? Why haven't you made that call yet?
Because I have roommates and they want to.
Oh, okay.
Well, it gets complicated because a lot of the cable companies, it's cheaper for you to have like a triple play package where you pay for
Yeah.
internet and phone.
Right.
We tried getting rid of cable in my house, but it's just going to be more expensive to have just the phone and internet.
Right, that's the person on the other end of the phone saying, well, you sure you want to do this? Actually, well, let me see what I can do for you. And it's a sort of circular conversation. And at the end, you're like, thank you, and you still have it, right?
I just called the cable company on Saturday because I've been meaning to cancel our landline, which we need in order for people to enter the building. And every time I call, they always like throw in something for free.
Right.
So last time they gave me Showtime and I forgot what else.
Like a pony and
And that's next. And then this time they gave me free on demand, and then they also gave me like higher internet speed. So I want to get rid of cable, but my husband likes it because of the sports channel.
right, exactly, and that's where most people.
Yeah.
I also noticed like with cable now, when you want to watch something online and you go to like, let's say ABC, for example, like abc.com, you have to have cable to access the content.
Totally, that's the plan, because then ABC can say that Comcast and Time Warner should pay them because they're allowing only people to get it. It gets very complicated, and you get into these various interests of people. But you see this pressure, increasingly this pressure, and there's a lot of pressure. There's the Crackle, there's the Hulu, there's the Amazons, there's Netflix that's putting it. You don't need cable for any of that content. And the better that content becomes, the more easy it will be to say, I can get amused elsewhere, right? I can be amused by other things, or there's other content out there, or I can watch back order of stuff, or I don't have to watch it in the same time. But the big reason people have cable is sports. And as more pressure is on the NFL, and people, I think, 45% of the NFL's audience is women? And if women increasingly get insulted, so all this sort of scandal in the NFL is also very important, not just to the NFL, but also to the cable television business, because if people were to get more, disenchanted with the NFL and stop watching those games, that would have an economic effect on the cable companies instead. So all these things get connected. Yep.
NFL's deal with DirecTV through, and also their app now through PlayStation is a huge deal. With you can avoid cable and get NFL through your PlayStation and through your app.
But that's with DirecTV.
Well, no, you don't actually have to have DirecTV in the box. It's complicated.
Yeah.
And I just found this out a couple weeks ago, but you can actually get a cheap PS3 off of Craigslist. get the app and stream it right to your TV, every game, every channel, or every other season, and every
Nice.
cable.
Cool.
Yeah.
And Leslie Lubez is dropping some heavy hints that Showtime's going to be available. The Showtime Anytime app will be available for a monthly charge, like Netflix.
Right. And what he has to weigh is, just like Jeff Bukes has to weigh with HBO, is what are they going to give up by doing that? Because, you know, and this goes back to even your vision and your mission and your strategy. Who are your constituents? So HBO, Showtime, their constituents are A, their users, their customers, their employees, their shareholders, but then there's these relationships. And one of them is cable. They have a relationship with cable. They make all their money comes from cable operators. So how do we keep that money coming in? And sort of in the conversation of the some of the reading is, how do you maintain that strong, steady cash flow, but also look to the future, look to the fringe of new ways, because you don't want to hold on so long that you say, no, 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 because we're making so much money here, that then you become irrelevant, you know, and that can be a challenge, yeah.
And so that's why, kind of like in line to our reading, Netflix evolved, knowing that they needed to be HBO before HBO became.
Exactly, right.
So that's why they started creating their own series and inspiring shows like Arrested Development.
Right. They wanted to become HBO almost because they had to, because the world shifted on them. They started as a DVD, and they, you know, the way Netflix started was the DVD through the mail. They didn't need anyone's permission. So for a period there, the Weinstein Company did an exclusive deal with good old Blockbuster, RIP, and they said, so you could not get, for 28 days, you would not be able to get a Weinstein Company movie unless you went to Blockbuster. But Netflix was like, fine, we'll go to Blockbuster, buy the DVD, and then sell it. We don't need your permission. Whereas streaming rights, they need your permission. So all of a sudden, the leverage, just like the leverage with the cable operators in Showtime, is there's a power struggle there, where you're no longer working in the realm of DVDs, but you're dealing in streaming rights. You need the copyright holder's permission to stream that film or that television program. So they need to, just like HBO eventually came to the conclusion, you know, HBO was originally just films, home box office. It's a way to watch movies at home. And eventually they're like, we can start, you know, why we're paying all this money to license films from Universal, Paramount, Sony, all that money, we could make our own stuff that we own. You know, we don't, because otherwise we're just licensing and we're holding it for a period of time, 6, 3, 8 years. Whereas now, same thing with Netflix, is rather than spending all this money to license stuff, if we can make good stuff, we don't need them anymore. You know, on a universal level, if you think of the United States and our reliance on Mideastern oil, if you could get to the point where, like, we don't need your oil anymore, the discussion shifts, right? So it's kind of the same thing, all these, right? Anybody else? Yep.
I don't know how relevant it is. Well, it is relevant, but BlackBerry is releasing the BlackBerry with like the cross-screen keyboard. I don't know how that's going to actually work.
Well, how do you think? Will you get one?
The keyboard. I don't think the BlackBerry is going to do well,
But you think the keyboard might?
no, I don't know how the keyboard, the cross keyboard.
Oh, well, so how do you think the BlackBerry will do?
In comparison to iPhone, very poorly.
Well, personally, are you interested in getting one?
No,
How come?
because I like my iPhone.
Okay, and again, all this stuff ultimately becomes down to just human choice. So you're not going to do it, and therefore you could probably project or extrapolate that maybe you're right. You know, like if your instinct is you're not going to do it, then how many people here are interested in getting the new BlackBerry? Okay, so that doesn't bode well. And this is the problem is, and I think we did this once before. How many used to have a BlackBerry? So again, if you start thinking of it as the strategy or the mission or the change or being able to change with the times, they did something wrong, right? You know, whatever. It's easy to say here in hindsight because it's very hard. But when everyone loves your product, to change to not where your type key but a touchpad screen, it's very hard to do.
In the New York Times, it's like a tiny, tiny article in like the top right corner today. It was like not even.
Yeah, it's sad. It's kind of sad. I mean, it is sad. It's you know, I mean, does anyone still have a BlackBerry? No one? Wait, did you? Yeah. No. In a drawer, yeah. I mean, I know people that still have a BlackBerry and they take it out and they're like, I know, sorry. You know, like they apologize for their thing.
I'm just wondering why like everybody in the White House uses BlackBerry.
You know, I think it might be security, or it might be some securitized system that they had when they first set it up and sort of redoing it. I honestly don't know. How many people got the Amazon phone? Yeah. Why are they selling it for 99 cents? Because no one bought them, right? So no one bought them. So you can get now, if you want the Amazon phone, you can get a free year of Amazon Prime, which is worth $99, plus 90, you know, and for 99 cents. So for like $98, you can have a phone, a pretty cool phone, but it didn't work.
Do you know how many they sold?
Like I think it was like I think it was like 28,000, something like that. So 28,000 is 28,000 is a lot of anything, but as we talked last week, iPhone 6 sold 4 million in the first 24 hours. So you're like, oh, okay, let's drop the price to 99 cents. Actually, no, we didn't drop the price to 99 cents. We dropped the price to, we'll pay you $99 to take this phone, right? Again, that's what happens. So it's very hard to change habits. And therefore, that's why and we'll talk about this today, in terms of a strategy, is you want to be able to ride that strategy and have a different approach to things, because things change so quickly. And that's why you start to see, even in the reading, they talk about, companies increasingly trying to sort of entertain the fringe a little bit, because, a lot of these companies will say their competitor is not, Yahoo's competitor is not necessarily Google, or Google's competitor is not necessarily Microsoft. Their competitor is the person they've never heard of in their garage, who will out of nowhere change what they're doing. Instagram was sold for $1 billion. I mean, I think they said that the Facebook engineers, they're like, we could have made that probably like, 6 engineers get a pizza. We could probably throw that together in a night. It's like, yeah, we made the same thing. But Instagram created utility. It created something that people liked and used. Same thing with WhatsApp. I mean, certainly, rather than spend $20 billion on WhatsApp, Facebook could have come up with something similar for, even if they spent let's say they spent $500 million to make it, which they never would. It would cost probably $1 million in engineers to make it, and $19 billion to market it. I mean, that's a lot of marketing, but it was easier to buy it. It was working and it had traction just to do it, and so that's where so there is much buying them for their technology, but they're also maybe neutralizing a potential competitor down the road. And that's why they'll pay so much money, because they realize they don't want to become Friendster. They don't want to become MySpace, right? And there's a risk of it, because if you look at, again, sometimes all you need to do is look at the demographics. The demographic of people that use Facebook, 13-year-olds to whatever, 18-year-olds aren't really using Facebook. And so if you're Facebook, that's pretty scary, right? Because you're like, yeah, all these people are using it, but there's a timeline for people, right? And so if you don't have that new generation, that younger generation, which is an appealing demographic that we can sell ads to, they're not adapting it, we may see our extinction baked right into that.
I have a question. Why is that so hard for like BlackBerry to do something better than iPhone? I think they have a lot of money.
Yeah.
They don't have like limitation on resources.
No.
Is that because the system in that corporation is not compatible with the society now?
It's a good question. But again, let's just go back to what kind of phone do you have? Samsung. So Galaxy?
Yeah.
What's it going to take for you to change that to a different phone?
Send a free to me.
Send it free. No, exactly, right. No, but that's true. So it's not going to be the features, it's going to be free, right? So you could get the Amazon phone, but you're not. Why aren't you getting that?
I never heard about that.
Right. That's why I'm here. One phone at a time. We're going to bring that baby back. But that's what it is. It's your habits. It's hard to change your habits. Like all organizations want to get you into the habit. That's why what a brand is, right? That's why people drink Coke and Pepsi. They don't drink, knee-high cola, right? Because you're used to it. There's a whole lifestyle that goes along with it. Your email. What's your email? Is it Gmail? Gmail. What would it take for me to get you to change to Yahoo Mail? No way. Not happening, right? Nothing I can do. I can have the coolest email ever, and it's not going to change it, right? So I can't. And Facebook tried to do that. Facebook had an email. It was, your name at fb.com. Have you ever received an email from them? Anyone with that? No. And not too long ago, what was your email before Gmail?
That's a Chinese one.
Okay.
I still use it.
You still use it, all right, okay. But like I have an AOL account, which in its day was like, it was kind of the cool one. It was, I know, that was the only time I was ever cool. But it was the cool email because it wasn't Microsoft. It was kind of the fight the power thing. And now you get an email from someone with an AOL account, they're like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, get it together. It's usually like my mom's friends, So, and what happened? They had me, but Gmail came up with a better product. And slowly over time, you're like, it's better.
When they launched Gmail, I remember this. I registered and I was using my main account was Yahoo.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden, all of my emails that I sent to people were arriving in like books, like 10 times the same email.
From Gmail?
From Yahoo.
From Yahoo. So Yahoo would,
like
failed you, right? They messed up to some degree.
Yeah.
They had you and they lost you, and it's really hard. And now it's going to be really hard to get you back. So in any sort of organization, it's always easier to keep someone than it is to get someone new. So and we'll talk a little bit in the semester about the concept of loyalty versus acquisition. Acquisition's hard. That's why you probably get flyers in the mail like $500 off if you get, if you sign up with Chase Bank, or, we'll give you cash. Or there's people in the airport with like a cowbell saying, sign up for our credit card and you'll get 50,000 miles, which is a free trip. And you're like, that sounds good. But because they know once they have you, your habits, human behavior is hard to change, right? So let's talk a little bit about, we'll sort of go into sort of more strategic planning kind of stuff here. Two other things I just mentioned while this comes up is, so Alibaba went public. Would that go well or not? Anyone didn't follow that? Did it go well? How'd it go?
I forgot what the number was, but it was like the highest.
Big. They made a lot of money. So they raised a lot of money, but it also went up from there, meaning that the people are seeing the future value of Alibaba is higher than it was even estimated by the bankers. So that did well. It's now public. So you can now own Alibaba if you'd like to. Yahoo owns 25% of Alibaba. So what would happen to Yahoo accordingly too? It also went up, right?
No.
It did?
Yeah.
Oh, because it was probably already baked in, I guess, those numbers.
The funny part is like Yahoo's shares are worth like 38 billion, and Yahoo total value of Yahoo is like 41 billion. So nobody gives a damn about anything.
No, the value, it's all the value is Alibaba. Exactly. And that's why one good deal or one good deal point can really, the value of Yahoo is on one deal. They made an investment, years ago in the small company Alibaba, and it makes what their value is. I always say this, like George Lucas became a billionaire because when he did his deal with Fox to make Star Wars, they were negotiating. He said, well, I'd like the merchandising rights. They're like, whatever. Like, have fun with that. Like, who's gonna, merchandising wasn't a big deal. And then he also had the clause in his arrangement that if Fox Studios was ever sold, the rights of Star Wars would revert back to him. And again, probably the business affairs person at Fox at the time was like, well, if Fox is sold, I won't be here, so I'm cool with that too. And again, those 2 points are what made him really rich. He'd be very rich anyway, but he'd be a wealthy for hire director. He wouldn't be super wealthy. Oprah Winfrey, same thing. She owned part of her show. That's why she's so wealthy. Otherwise, she would have been a very high-paid talent. But she owned that show, and that's what makes, you know, Oprah Winfrey a billionaire. Because, you know, again, sometimes when you're negotiating on something when there isn't any value, they can say, you know, they were like, fine, you want to own a piece of this? Like, we'll pay you less now. And same with David Geffen. David Geffen ended up owning half of his music company because they didn't think it was worth much. And he turned it into something. So I'll just show you this quick little thing of, if you look at the landscape of the, you can't, I'm sorry, I'll post it. You can't really see it, I guess, too well. But this is the cable company consolidation. So there's Comcast, which is currently trying to buy Time Warner. All right? And then below that, you have Charter and Cox. So you can start to see that this potential merger gives them a whole lot of leverage in the marketplace, which could be, you know, bad, particularly when you talk about net neutrality. It's like all that cable is every time you call, you're not calling Time Warner or anything. You will have no other choices. So it's sort of an interesting thing. And you can see from a strategic standpoint what Comcast is trying to do is, like, if they can own that relationship of all those pipes into your home, they can do a lot of things with you, right? Okay, there's our old friend Maslow. Right? We talked briefly about this, of the idea of leadership, sort of planning is the, so we're talking here about the planning, and then once you have the plan, the leading is to sort of inspire that effort. All right, and we talked about it being a process. All right, remember, so this is what you went through over the last week, is defining the vision. Again, it needs refinement maybe, and then take a sense of what is the gap, the distance between where you want to be and where you are today, and then how you're going to put a plan to get there. Implement that plan, start moving, see how you're doing, use your metrics, and then replan again. Keep doing that. And it's just an ongoing process, all right? We talked about the vision and the mission, how you want to be perceived in the future, what success looks like. Articulating a vision, which again looks like the yin and yang a little bit. And the idea of a vision versus a mission is the vision being kind of the place you want to get to, and the vision, I mean the mission, how you're going to get there. All right, so horizon, and then how you plan to reach that horizon. And then we're back here. All right, I think you all know what this is. What's the SWOT analysis? Right. Okay. Good. And it's, again, I always think it's kind of funny to call it an analysis because it's so simple. But it's a really useful tool. And most of these things are really useful. And again, if you think of the strengths, it's just like you can do it for yourself too. Is what are your strengths? You know? What, you know, are you, do you speak many languages? Are you a good writer? You know? What are your weaknesses? Maybe it's math. Maybe it's writing. Maybe it's, what are your opportunities, right? And again, sometimes it's good to just do it for yourself too. It's like, what do I got? Particularly if you're going to go into an interview, it's like, what are the strengths I want them to know about me? And then what are the threats? The threats, so these are both external and these are both internal, right? So what's going on internally? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Or what are the organization's strengths? What are its weaknesses? And what are the potential threats? So if you're thinking of Facebook, you know, they're looking at their strengths. Well, we got, you know, whatever, 1.3 billion users. Our weakness would be younger people aren't using it. An opportunity is, you know, we can continue to grow. A threat would be something like WhatsApp or Snapchat. So what do? We try to buy them both, right? Because they're potential threats to, because younger people are using them. And therefore, if younger people are seeing it, if they start to have a better, if Snapchat or WhatsApp has a tight relationship with the 13 to 15-year-old crowd, and they grow up using that, and they get very comfortable with it, just like Gmail versus your old account, then very quickly you may become rendered obsolete. So that's the way they would think about it in a SWOT analysis, kind of just, you know, top line. The purpose of a SWOT analysis is it's so easy, you know, you can just need a pen and you can just be like, It forms a basis for matching your company's strategy to its situation. It provides an overview of the strategic situation, and it provides a baseline to do more extensive internal and external analysis. So it's just a really simple way of saying what's going on. So again, if you're going to lay out a strategy for anything, the best way to do it is, where are you now? What's going on right now? Because that's a much more informed place to look at it. So if you're going to do it for yourself, where are you now? You want to get here, but the best way to figure out how to get there is starting off where you're starting from. Okay, an opportunity. We all know what an opportunity is for a firm to grow or progress due to a favorable juncture of circumstances in the business environment. Steve Jobs, when they launched iTunes, they thought they'd already missed. They saw the opportunity in music. They thought they'd missed it. They thought, you know what, they were too far behind. They clearly didn't. And there's no reason the music business shouldn't have seen that opportunity too. But what were the music business more concerned about? What's that? CDs and protecting the business that they had, that they were making money. They were concerned, and they saw things like Napster or people sort of free piracy is going after the kids, like prosecute teenagers, right? Which is, you can see that as like, you know what? This is disrupting our current way of life, so we'll go after them. Versus like, again, it's just very easy in hindsight, versus saying, hey, this is a trend, and like the little boy with his finger in the dike, we're not gonna stop this. So maybe we should come up with an alternative. Steve Jobs, and sometimes when you're outside, it's easier to see, saw that and was like, oh, sometimes if you ever see where you have expatriate writers, whether it's someone who's from a different country writing about America or an American writing about a foreign country, it's sometimes much more informed because you can look at it in an objective way that it's hard to. So sometimes that's why you'll hire a consultant who can look at your organization in a way, because once you're in it, you're like, no, we're all about CDs. I gave you the example of Blockbuster. They hired a guy who was a retail person. So his job was to increase foot traffic. That's what his mindset was. Foot traffic and price per sale. His job wasn't to say, hey, there's this company sending these over the mail with a subscription. They seem to be doing well. Maybe we should do that. It's just because it wasn't the way you're thinking. So possible opportunities, emerging customer needs, quality improvements, expanding global markets, vertical integration. So what's vertical integration? Anyone know what that is? Want to try? You good?
When we start moving parts of the whole process, like say if it's production process, if we're making shoes, that we'll bring the part where we make the boxes for the shoes.
Right. Yeah, you can vertically integrate frontwards or backwards. So we make shoes, but we import the leather. So let's skip back. Let's get rid of the leather person. We'll just do it ourselves. So you start doing everything, right? So you can leverage it yourself. Expanding global markets. That's what Netflix is doing, right? We talked last week about Netflix going into Europe. It's just, at some point, if they want to, they've got however many, say 45 million subscribers here in the U.S. To expand that market, you can keep marketing to the 360 million people in the United States, but a faster way would be like, well, let's just go to a bigger pie, right? Let's go after some other people. Quality improvements, right? We have new features. It happens all the time with a lot of products. And emerging customer needs. Come back to it. Threats. A threat is a factor in your company's external environment that poses a danger to its well-being. So a new entry by a competitor. So conceivably, if your iPhone or your Samsung, the Amazon phone, Amazon has a lot of money, was a threat. Didn't turn out to be as big a threat as they were worried about. Changing demographics, shifting demand. That's the same thing about shifting demand for Facebook. Changing demographics. Younger people aren't using it. How do they handle that? Emergence of cheaper technologies. That's always a big challenge, right? Something that can be done for the same thing but cheaper. Regulatory requirements. The laws change. Piracy. That's always a challenge, particularly when you're dealing in content. And sometimes the threat is just too big. There's not much you can do about it. Like I always think, like if you were the CEO of Smith Corona typewriters, and it's early computer days. There's not much, you can't start making chips, right? You're not gonna, it's just not what you do. And there's, it's like the bully whip, there's not much you can do to change that. So you have to think about what's the sort of smartest way to handle your position at that point too. Even Jeff Bezos says, for a company to last 100 years is pretty rare. So his view is eventually someone will disrupt Amazon out of existence. It may take years, but it may happen. So opportunities and threats are external. By examining opportunities, you can discover untapped markets and new products or technologies, or identify potential avenues for diversification. So you should always be looking at this is what we do successfully, and where can we broaden that out? There's a story in the paper today about Warner Brothers. Film business is down 15% over the summer. And a lot of studios are now saying, that's why you're seeing all these, just go with the big budget franchises, superhero comics, that type of thing. And what Warner Brothers is saying, whether they're right or not, is we see that as an opportunity. If other studios are going to make fewer movies, we'll make more, and if there's a net demand, we'll get part of that demand. Now, movies have to be good, and most people don't go to movies because it's associated with a studio. They just go to a movie, right? Whatever movie you saw, they say if you saw a movie over the weekend, you probably couldn't tell me what studio it was, unless it was, unless it's like a Disney movie, which is, has a certain branding. By examining threats, you can identify unfavorable market shifts or changes in technology and create a defensive posture aimed at preserving your competitive position. Because it's very hard. And it's the same thing for yourselves, too, is what are your opportunities and what's going to be a threat to you either in your work or in your life. That could be addictions, or it could be sort of, laziness or procrastination or stuff like that. So the more you're aware of these sort of threats to your own well-being or things that might undo you, the more you can sort of be prepared to sort of address them as well. So there we have the SWOT analysis. Again, I think analysis overstates it because it's just a list, really. But it's a really, really super simple tool. And the whole purpose of this class is going to give you a sort of a series of tools you can use. This is a pretty easy one, and it's something you can do with anything. Should we go to the movies tonight? Well, let's do a SWOT analysis, And my rain is a threat. The opportunity is we meet new people and we enrich our souls, But you can do it on anything. And it's sometimes just a really good way to frame a problem and a whole sort of frame a situation. And anytime you're doing a business plan or you're trying to evaluate a problem for work, it's usually a good way to start. It's again, I wouldn't go proudly into your boss's office and say, I did this SWOT analysis, because I think, again, it sounds, but just say, look, I just did a quick little overview of where we are, it's sort of a situational evaluation or analysis, sort of saying where you are. Because I think it's a really good starting point for everything. And sometimes that's why these tools are good, is that they kind of frame things for you. They're a way of saying, what should I be looking at? Because sometimes it's easy to just say, well, we've got this going for us. We can't be stopped. But if you don't look at your weaknesses or you don't look at the possible threats, you may overlook something. And in any number of times, I oversaw strategic planning for Universal Pictures. And any number of times, people would bring in an idea, like a new business or a concept or a partnership. And it's usually my job to evaluate it. And the truth is, in my experience, is oftentimes when I thought something was either a terrible idea or a great idea, you sit down and you kind of put it to paper and you write it up and you sort of evaluate it. Something that you thought was a terrible idea, you're like, you know what? Actually, if you start looking at it, this was a better idea than I thought it was, than my gut instinct, or vice versa. Something that seems like a good idea, and you start laying out what its strengths are, or what its weaknesses are, or what the opportunities are, or what the challenges are, you start to say, oh, you know what, when I think about it more and I start to put some kind of structure to it, it isn't that good an idea, and or it's a good idea, but they'll have to address this before we would agree to it. And again, it's a really simple way to structure things, and that's the purpose of all these little tools, is to just give you tools. And some of them you may say, that's not useful to me, but it's something you have, and you may come up with a better one for yourself. You may say, I like that, but I'd like to do it this way or my way or something like that. And that's all these things, because all this stuff is just made by people, you know. Okay. How about a pest analysis while we're at it? Anyone know what a pest analysis is? Well, you can probably get a sense. This is probably some acronym, right, for something, and it's very similar, right? So, and it's just looking at the political factors, economic factors, socio-cultural factors, and technological factors. Again, so maybe you start with a SWOT analysis, and if you're feeling like really plucky, you go and do the pest on top of it, and you've got everything. But it's just another way of, another angle to look at things. So in the political legal world, are there monopolies? Is there legislation that's going to be a problem with this, right? We're thinking of doing our movie, all right? And we might want to do it in California, but there's pending legislation that they may start having the tax benefit in California again, which they just put through. So maybe we should do it in California versus doing it in Georgia. Because if we do it in California, the tax benefit's higher in Georgia, but then we got to ship everybody over to Georgia. We don't have as good a crew bases in Georgia. We have to pay for hotels for all the talent. Some talent doesn't want to fly to Georgia. Some talent doesn't want to be away from their family. So if this legislation is going through soon, maybe that's good for us. Environmental protection laws, again, if you're doing something that's involving the environment taxation policy, going back to how you're going to structure your organization, what's the right way, or what is the tax position of some of the people that might be investing in your organization. Employment laws, are you allowed to ask people to do certain things there? The overall government policy, is there legislation pending or coming through? These are all things that you may want to take into account. And you probably do this anyway, kind of, sort of intuitively, but sometimes just evaluating it is a good thing to do. They've been pushing through this crowdfunding law in the United States, which I think is still, it's work. They do it now. You can do it for Broadway, where you can get people to actually invest in a Broadway show, not as Kickstarter, but really as investors. Because Kickstarter, as you know, they're not really investors. They're just kind of patrons or friends. So if you invest in my play, which I'm going to hit you up for at the end of this tonight, I'll give you like a t-shirt or like a button, or I'll come and cook for you if you give a lot of money. But you don't get any, like if the play does really well, you get nothing, all right? Because you are not really an investor. You just gave me money. You get to come to the play. Whereas now there's crowdfunding, is you're allowed to, in small amount, you can actually be an investor. So you can say, so if the play does really well, it will be divided among all the investors equally, right? And that's new. Economic factors, all right, are there things that are going on in inflation, employment, disposable income, business cycles, energy availability and costs, etc. So are there things, are you making, is there a recession going on, and are you trying to sell some big budget something that you don't think anyone's going to come to because they cannot do it? U2 went on tour during the recession, and they were like, I don't think anyone, there were some thoughts that, and they took it into account, is, are people really going to want to pay $100 to go to Madison Square Garden to see U2 during the recession? Is that kind of bad taste? So taking that into account, they made sure that in every market there are tickets that were reasonably priced. They weren't very good seats, but you could, the idea being that anybody could see it. And they wanted to address the concern that there was this recession going on, that they didn't seem totally tone deaf to that happening, and therefore get some backlash, which is very possible, right? People are like, well, why am I going to go pay $100 to see Bono when I can't make my mortgage or can't put food on the table? So they address that by the pricing of the tickets. Social culture factors, sometimes a really good thing if you're trying to think of a business idea is just you can get online, or you can actually pay for, more sophisticated stuff, is just look at what are demographic trends. Like, the baby boomers are slowly retiring. So they're going to have a lot of disposable income. What are they going to do? So rather than targeting your product for, the tweener age, maybe we should go after this big, bowling ball through a fire hose group of people that will have disposable income and time, right? And those are the two things you want in any sort of. So, or if you're looking at real estate trends, how many people do they think are going to be in New York in the future? So sometimes just looking at demographics is a really helpful way to look at things of where's this market going to go. If all these sort of baby boomers are retiring and they have time and they have money, maybe maybe we should start making movies that are skewing to an older audience versus a younger audience, And these are things you can start to think about. Social mobility, lifestyle changes, again, retirement, consumerism, levels of education. Those are all things that you may want to look at in terms of sort of, looking at your organization. And then lastly is technology. New discoveries and innovations, speed of technology transfer. So there was a thing at the Toronto Film Festival this past weekend where, I'm going to get it wrong, but it was in conjunction with Samsung, but it was a thing you put over your head, and you could watch this unbelievable 3D movie experience. You could see it behind your head, you could look around and see it. So it was a totally immersive viewing experience, but it was, it was goggles basically you could watch anywhere. So if you're in the film business, you may say, that's stupid, that looks dumb, that's going to go against the theater business. Who's going to do that? Or you may say, that might be the future, and therefore we should pay a little attention to that. Maybe even invest a little money in that, or just because that may one day be the way people experience a film. It's not social really, or maybe it could be social. You all watch the same thing together, but maybe that's something to pay attention to. I'm not saying it is or isn't, but it could potentially destroy the film, the theater going business completely, right? Potentially. So you probably want to be aware of that. And keep your eye on it. And you may have a technology person that says, that's not going to happen anytime soon. Even the DVD market, a lot of people didn't think the DVD market, people would adapt to the DVD market as quickly as they did. And they made deals, accordingly. They said, we'll let Sony sell our DVDs in Europe because we don't think anyone wants DVDs for another 5 years. Well, they were wrong. And DVDs, the adoption of DVDs was really quick, very quick, and therefore Sony made a huge amount of money off that deal just by being in front of the marketplace. Rates of obsolescence. How quickly does your product become obsolete? Is it something that you're not going to use anymore? Thinking of like the BlackBerry. Internet. Do you have a presence on the internet at all? Information technology. So how can you use tech? And we'll go through this later in the semester about. Sometimes saying technology is not necessarily a strategy, but technology can be an accelerator strategy. So this is what we want to do, and now we're going to use technology to help get us there. Same thing with your own vision and mission. You may say, this is what I want to do, and is there a way I can use technology to help me get there faster? Whether it's tracking things, just keeping track, or it's expediting it, or outsourcing, having people around the world, or there's all sorts of ways that once you figure out where you want to go and what your plan is, you can start using technology to expedite yourself and to get you there. Has everyone read the 4-Hour Workweek book? No? Okay. It's kind of dumb, but it's popular. But the whole idea is you don't need to work that much if you can start outsourcing. So this guy was having people in sort of lower income countries doing stuff for him while he slept. So he was always saying, like, I don't really need to do a lot of this stuff that I normally take my time doing. Is I can outsource this stuff. And there's a story of one guy, I forget, his job was like data entry, and I forget what, let's say he made $50,000 a year. Well, he outsourced his job to someone else in India who he paid $20,000 a year. So he really wasn't working. Yet he was getting paid $30,000 because they said, this is your responsibility. And he said, cool. this is your responsibility. And you know, that was kind of clever. The company caught up with him, didn't like it very much. But the idea is, you know, you can do that with your own responsibilities too. If there's stuff that you say, this takes me this much time and this much money, I can do it over here, and that frees me up to do this, and then that frees me up, and so, you know, it makes sense. So you can sometimes use technology to your advantage that way. And especially now, like, with marketing, you can do market research so easily online. Like, it's so much easier. You can use, you know, whatever, SurveyMonkey or stuff like that, where it used to be you have to recruit an audience. Now you can get an audience, you can pay them, you know, a nickel, and they'll comment on something for you. Or you can use technology of, you can get a logo created for you for, you know, $30 versus hiring one firm. You can get people all over the world who are good graphic designers. You give them the spec, they'll send you their ideas, and if you use them, you pay them. You know, so there's all these things that you can use now for technology to get where you want to go much quicker and cheaper and actually more creatively. Okay, and so we're back to this flow. So you've got your visits. You can use the SWOT analysis again to say, where are you? What's your situation right now? And what's that gap between the two? Lay out a plan. So we're going to talk about creating a plan, implementing it, and evaluating it, and just keep that cycle going. All right? So you've got presumably a decent vision and mission, and that sort of takes into account where you are now. And then we'll lay out a plan on top of that, and you're sort of on your web. So, the Boston Matrix. Sounds kind of like a dance, doesn't it? So, when you're looking at an organization, particularly if you have a number of things, whether we talk about BlackBerry, or we talk about Blockbuster, or we talk about any kind of organization, you sort of want to look at where things fall, like, and how you should allocate your resources. It's sometimes hard to determine how you should allocate your resources. Like, how many resources should Apple now allocate to the iPod? Anyone try? Zero. Does anyone buy iPods? Yeah, you got one.
Well, I just got one a couple months ago, and then I found out they stopped selling them.
Oh, they
The classics, they stopped.
the classics, but they still have like the Nanos and stuff like
They have
that.
the Nanos,
But you just bought one.
stopped.
So zero is probably the wrong answer, but maybe somewhere between something and zero, right? Because
Well, I think the most popular one is the Shuffle. 'Cause
The
it's
Shuffle?
two gigs and it's just quick, like
the little guy, yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, it's kind of an amazing thing, you know. It's like $50, yeah. Oh yeah, we have the representative here. Sorry, what am I doing?
They should definitely allocate some money towards it, because there's definitely a market for it. So the children who obviously are not old enough to have cell phones, I think that's where the money is going towards.
That's the entry, that's the gateway drug, right?
Yeah, the iPod Touch. I mean, the parents that come in, they buy the iPod Touch.
The iPod Touch, yeah, but yeah, exactly. So some, right? But how much of your time is spent on iPods?
Maybe like 1 or 2 interactions a week
Uh-huh.
with that, and maybe they might buy something.
And where are most of your interactions?
iPhones and MacBooks.
MacBooks. How about iPads?
Yeah, iPads are still selling.
Yeah,
it's-
but not as much.
Yeah, it's cheaper. It's rare when you have somebody that comes in and spends $1,000 on a cellular iPad.
Interesting. So right there, you kind of start to have a window in. So you probably don't want to say, like, let's put all our eggs in the iPod basket, if there were such a thing, right? But you're right, it's close to zero. And so, you know, we've had pyramids, and now we're going to have some animals, which is kind of fun. All right, so this was devised, again, it's just a tool, and you can, you know, but it was devised by BCG, Boston Consulting Group, as a tool to help determine where to allocate available cash, right? So Apple has a lot of cash. So high market share usually implies profit, right? So this is your market growth over here, this axis, and over here is your market share. All right? And so the market growth is used to measure a market's attractiveness. So what do we have here? What's this? What does that look like? Looks like a crying kid, right? It's a problem child is what we're going to call him. He's a problem child. We all know this kid, right? That's a dog, right? Cute. stars. And what's that? The cash cow, right? What's cash cow?
It's a product when it's mature enough, it keeps making money regardless of.
Right. It keeps making money. It's just throwing off money. It's just like Scotch tape, right? It's a solid business, and it just throws off money. Kind of like an iPod, really, right? It's still throwing off money. So you don't want to put all, Scotch tape is still their core business to some degree, but this is a business that has, you have high market share, but it's a low growth business, right? So you want to give some resources to it, but you don't want to put all your resources in it. There we go. So these are stars, cash cows, dogs. And so sometimes, again, it's a very simple, almost kind of brain dead way of saying, like, this is our organization, where should we put them? So iPhone 6 is probably still a star, wouldn't you say that? Yeah. iPod, probably a cash cow. What's a dog in the sort of realm of Apple?
BlackBerry.
Oh, BlackBerry, yeah. Or what else? So at Apple.
A dog?
Yeah, like this. You gotta have had that. You haven't drank all the Kool-Aid yet. What's something that just doesn't never sold?
I guess. Are we talking about hero products or like products made by Apple?
My Apple product, yeah.
Yes. Like an iPod Shuffle.
iPod Shuffle. There's some, but aren't there some other things that just didn't really work? Like you can go back. What's that?
The iMac.
The iMac? iMac. Oh, I say the iMac. All right. And then what would be a problem child? Maybe a wearable? I don't know. It's like it has high potential. It's just not a star yet, right? I don't know if that's a good, best example, but.
No, I think that's a great example because I try to talk about the watch at work
Uh-huh.
because I'm excited about it, but I think it's a millennial thing because people I would say that are 35 and older think it's a cool concept, but no one wants to buy it.
Right. So it has potential to be a star. And Apple's got the money to invest in it, but this is always like, the wearable could become a dog, could become a star, right? But usually it'll be a process like this, right? So you gave the example of the BlackBerry has become a dog. It used to be a star, became a cash cow, and then it became a dog, right? And it's very hard to go backwards this way, right? And so the new phone you talked about with the keyboard, it's probably a problem child, and it's probably a problem child destined to become a dog. Just like with Amazon, Cell phone, very high growth business, right? Clearly look at Apple. And so but it didn't work, right? And it's a dog. They're selling it, they will pay you to buy that phone. They'll pay you $99, give you free shipping for a year to buy that phone, and free movies and stuff to buy that phone. So that didn't work. And so sometimes it's just a good way of looking at where things fit on that. We talked about Blockbuster. Blockbuster probably, again, very easy in hindsight, been able to look at the in-store rental business as a cash cow that they probably should preserve. You don't want to kill it, but they should be putting their resources elsewhere. New forms of distribution, maybe in-home distribution, whether it's like Netflix or something else. But they didn't do that. They put all their money here. And I think they probably didn't identify it necessarily as a cash cow. They identified it as their future and just get more and more and more of this. And it didn't work that way. We can sell Live Nation tickets, we can do all those things. That will be our star, but it didn't really, translate that way.
This is slightly relevant, but does Crackle still offer free content? Because to my knowledge, that's how they started out.
Crackle?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still free. It's ad-based, yeah. And that may change, but right now it's free. So I think it's completely free. I don't think there's even a buy option. Yeah, and they have a new show. They're putting new series on there. Because Crackle, good point, Crackle is kind of in this area, frankly. But they've got Sony behind them, and they want to become here. And they have some things that are starting to make the bridge with the Jerry Seinfeld series, and they're slowly finding ways to make their way over. And they appeal to young men, which is a very appealing demographic. So in that way, they're also in a good position. But sometimes you can be in this world for a very long time, not knowing if you're going here or here. And that's the scariest place to be, because it takes a lot of money to invest in that. Here, when you know you got something, it's easy to put your money, allocate your money to this. It's harder to do it here. It's worse to do it here, and no disrespect to BlackBerry, but that may be, they may just be in like, you know, wherever, the pound, and they're just spending money, and there's no way they're going to get out of that sort of prison. The other thing they talked about in some of the readings is the prison of success, right? Is that sometimes success can be its own prison, where you've done so well, blockbuster, that you can't really, it's hard to change culturally to get out of that, because you've been doing it so long, and it's just, it feels good, right? It feels like, why, it would be sacrilegious to say, let's stop selling rental DVDs, right? Because that's where we made all our money. Another example of this, you know, to your point about the zero, you probably never want to spend zero on it. You want to have enough to maintain it, but you don't want to be like, you know, so AOL still has a really nice dial-up business, right? I mean, kind of crazy, right? They make several $100 million a year on dial-up. People who still get dial-up internet. It's $25 a month for dial-up. So now, is that the future? Do you want to say, like, let's go hard on that? No, right? But do you want to kill the cash cow? No. Or you don't want to kill the fat, you know, the golden goose either. It's this, keep this going as long as you can, but eventually, this is going to become here, right? Or just disappear completely. Does that make sense? Well, anyone want to give another example of, what's another example of something, any product or in the media that is a problem child?
Maybe streaming music services?
A little bit, yeah. Because they could, you know, they exist now, and they could become something, but right now they're still a little on the bubble. I mean, they've got high valuations, but that's all. Are they here or are they here? Even, you okay?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
I was going to say MySpace because I believe it was Justin Timberlake who put a lot of money and reinvested in MySpace, and no one's using it.
Right, and I think it's hard. I think it was a dog, and I think he tried to push it by using his name and saying we're going to make it something cool and hip, and you know, as cool as he is, it wasn't enough, right?
Well, I guess Spotify started in Europe, and I've been using it since it was there before coming to America. When I came here, I was really disappointed it wasn't available, so I had to go back to iTunes, and now Spotify's like really, really getting big in America. I know more people who are using it, and I think it's kind of started maybe as a problem child in America. It's this online streaming, and you pay like $9 for like premium, and you
can get it free. It's freemium too.
And
Yeah.
offline, you can travel with it, use it all over the world. And now I think it's like getting really to the stars. It's more.
Right, and it's also has Pandora there too. And to some degree, iTunes is becoming more of a cash cow because people aren't using. If you correct me if I'm wrong, people are not downloading music as much as they used to. Is that correct?
Right. They've been pushing iTunes Radio.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and they acquired
And they got Beats with their streaming service. So again, sometimes it's a way of saying that you're right, is that there's a lot of people seeing that the streaming music, Pandora, Spotify, Apple, that there may be something in this realm, and where is it going to land in there, and who's going to be the star, who's going to be the problem child, who's going to be the dog, etc. What's that? I'm sorry. Oh, pirate. Yeah.
Or share.
How so? Right. I think they generate ads, so they're serving a service and they get ads to people come there. So, right. And as long as there's traffic, yeah, eventually you think there'll be some kind of regulation that will stop them. But that's a good example. Someone else?
Probably do with Amazon. This is so broad. You know, stars, maybe ebooks, Kindles, cow, paper, physical books, help children their original content.
Good.
But I can't figure out a dog for that.
How about the phone?
Oh, the phone.
Your phone. Bingo. No, and they have a lot of other ones too. You know, they've done all sorts of things that haven't worked, and you know, their books, their heritage is books. You know, I read this stat the other day. Amazon sells 50% of all the books in the United States, which is kind of astounding. You know, and they're having this whole fight with Hachette over artists. You know, how much the writer should get, and it's a very complicated issue, and it gets into all of these kind of things of the leverage of the marketplace versus, you know, how much you want to get out there. Just like we talked about the relationship between, you know, the networks or Showtime and the cable operators. Like, it's a nice relationship, but at some point, at what point are you giving up too much of yourself? Are the writers giving up so much, you know, to get to that 50% that they're also going to maybe ultimately give up everything? You gonna say something?
Well, BuzzFeed.
BuzzFeed?
Yeah.
You tell me.
Is it a problem child? A star?
I would say it's closer to a star. I mean, it's got a pretty big traffic base, and I think it's.
I'd say Barnes & Noble was a star, but they're a bit of a problem child now. They're the only corporate bookstore in the nation.
Yeah, Barnes & Noble is, I mean, I don't know if we talked about this, and it's amazing to me if you look at the You've Got Mail, which You've Got Mail, the movie with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, which you may not have even seen, but if you look at that, it's like a time capsule, because it's, first of all, it's You've Got Mail. So that means AOL was popular, right? It was about, that's what it is. It was like everybody had AOL. So that's A. B is, so Meg Ryan has this cute little, it's based on this movie Shop Around the Corners, around the corner, and Meg Ryan runs this little boutique bookstore, like a Shakespeare company here in New York. And Tom Hanks is the big, bad, giant bookstore a la Barnes & Noble coming in, and he's going to, you know, destroy the business that is Meg Ryan's business. Now the funny thing is today, it's like, come on, Barnes & Noble, you can make it. Like, we're now rooting for Tom Hanks. We're like, Meg Ryan's already gone. Like, she's done. That business is gone. And that's an amazing shift of the way things are. And yeah, so they were once clearly a star, a total star. They dominated the bookstore business, and they also had the Nook. The Nook was a clear problem child up against the Kindle, and that battle is effectively over now, right?
I think that, well, the company has decided to make Nook a separate entity.
There's a separate entity. But does anyone here have a Nook? All right, nice.
I don't use it anymore.
Yeah, oh, you're doing it. You're apologizing. No, I mean, I don't use it. It's like my BlackBerry. I got it, but it's not. No, I'm not stupid. Right? But you see, but it is. You realize that the Nook, you know, they tried, and it did, and it, you know, it made sense. But the problem is they're going up against Amazon, which has making so much money elsewhere that it's very hard to compete with that.
I partnered with Samsung recently too.
Right.
I don't know how well that's doing, but
Not so well, yeah. So it's hard, but it's a very good point. So they were there, they became there, and it seems, you know, it's hard to keep, you know, they may end up here. And then you may get this, you know, turnaround where there are these sort of boutique bookstores that are popping up again because people want that sort of texture thing. You gonna say something?
I have a question. What can you do if you are like a chain, bookstore chain in another country, and Amazon has...
I like that I'm going to have the answer to this, but go on.
You know Amazon's coming, and you know they're going to kill you, but they're not going to yet. So what can you do? You cannot try to emulate Amazon and try to discover the new Kindle. The only thing you can do is take the money, all the money you can, and store like under your bed, because that's gonna die.
So you have a bookstore in a foreign country.
A big chain of bookstores like Barnes & Noble was in the U.S.
Is this real? This is real, or?
It could be real.
Okay. I've got this friend, right?
No, it is real. No, you have some in Europe. You have
right.
In France you have FNAC. In Brazil
right.
you have Livraria Cultura, and they are the very big bookstores, and they're starting to get smaller. And you can buy a Kindle, but the Kindle books are not in Portuguese.
Right.
Not many of them.
So what would you do? So I don't think just stashing your money in your bed is the way. I will say that. So, I mean, so you can fight, right? Like, like anything, you can say we're going to be better. It's the same thing that we talked about last week about Netflix going into France. I showed you that ad from Canal Plus. It's like, well, what do? You show your point of difference and you say, we can do this. We can make this. We can be better than that. Because there's all sorts of examples of small organizations that were able to fend off bigger organizations. I mean, Google is a great example. Google was started by two guys. I mean, everybody at the time Google came out had search engines. Everybody was doing it. You had Alta Vista, you had Yahoo, you had Excite, you had Lycos, you also had Time Warner, you had Microsoft. All these big people were trying to do, they were doing it. They weren't trying, they were doing it. And two guys came up with a very simple interface that people use. So the utility becomes important. So if these bookstores can show utility to the people they're serving, their customers, it'll work. And at some point, let's say Amazon's going into Brazil, they're going to say, this isn't working. We're not going to keep spending money on something that's not working. And sometimes there's room for more than one in a market as well. But I think what sometimes competition does is it forces you to redouble who you are and what it is that makes you distinct, or forces you to look at your vision and mission of what is you're serving to your customer or your base, because that's what's going to make you different and distinct. If people are coming in and having a good experience, they're not going to want to go there. But if Amazon or Barnes & Noble comes in and they offer a far more superior experience, that's when you're going to lose them. That's when you're going to switch from Yahoo to Gmail. That's when you're going to switch from, the deli that sells you coffee to whatever coffee, Starbucks or some other kind of coffee. That's when you're going to switch. But until the value proposition is better than what you currently have, you'll probably stay there, it seems.
I think that what Liverpool is doing in Brazil, it's kind of what you're saying, in the sense of, since they can beat a big, gigantic company that sells books on physical and also digital books, they're investing and betting on good experience in their retail stores. Going to this culture store, this bookstores, is sort of an experience. They have themed areas. Right. And I mean, the experience, as you said, of going there and experiencing that,
right,
touching the books and being in that environment would be something they could do as a tool to survive in this.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, that's what they'll probably do. Now that costs, and don't think that Barnes and Noble won't try to do the same thing, but you may be able to do it. You see?
It happened with Amazon and friends, and the next strategy was go complain to the teacher strategy and lobbying with state and government so that more protectionist politics were applied to them. But I think the solution should be something like you said, you have a brand that right now in your country has a more equity and it's a more beloved brand than Amazon that is entering your country. So get that power that you have and exploit it and make it a greater experience as a brand.
Well, what Fnac did in Brazil was they started selling TV sets or computers. They don't sell books anymore. So they completely changed their business. They have the books there.
That sounds like a strange approach, but maybe I don't know the story well enough. So, but it's hard. It is definitely hard. Competition's hard, and we'll talk about that through the semester. But it's hard, and when you are succeeding, there will always be competition. And generally people will say when they're putting together a business plan, they're and the great thing is there's no competitors. If there are no competitors, a lot of people will say, then you don't really have a business, because there should be some potential competitor out there, right? And what you're doing, what is it you're doing that you're going to change or you're going to make valuable? So we'll just quickly buzz through the dogs. Low market share, lower market. In these areas, market share is weak, so it's going to take a lot to get noticed. Won't be able to enjoy economies of scale of the competitors. So is it even worth persevering with? How much money are they costing? Could they be revived in some way? How much would it cost to continue to support such products? How much would it cost to remove from the marketplace, all right? And some companies are good at saying, I'll buy up all your dogs, I'll put them under another brand, and then reintroduce them in a new way, right? Because some organizations just like, it's not worth it to us. You can have it. I was reading this thing on Napoleon the other day. Now, not that we want to go totally off, but Thomas Jefferson bought did the Louisiana Purchase through Napoleon. And again, for I think it was like $11 million in today's money, which in hindsight, it was something like 23% of the United States. Seems like a pretty stupid deal in hindsight, you know. But who knew at the time, right? So it was like France needed the money, so they're like, yeah, fine, we'll take your money for your hot swampland. But you know, there's different needs at different times too. France needed the money. We wanted to expand the land base, so it made sense. But you know, you can say in hindsight, not a very smart deal. You know, if you're looking at 100, 200, 300 year threshold versus, you know, a 2, 10, 15 year threshold. Problem children are question marks. They're just a big question mark, and that's the worst place. You know, it's the same thing in the film business when the girl with the dragon tattoo, the David Fincher version. It's David Fincher, yeah. And it kind of did okay. It didn't do great, and therefore it's sort of a problem child. Because then you know, it's a 3-book series, right? 3, and so do we do the next 2? We've got the actors, we got signed up, but it did okay. So we're going to have to spend a lot more money. It's a lot easier to say Transformers 4, yeah, the last 3 made $500 million, let's do another one. That's not a hard decision, right? But the girl with the dragon tattoo, there was an original version which was pretty good. This cost whatever, $80 million and it made 60. You're like, huh, should we do that again? Are we stupid? You know, and that's where a problem child is. It's a question mark. You don't know. Do you have something? Do you not? Is it worth spending more money on it? They aren't generating much revenue right now because they don't have large-scale market share, but they are in high-growth areas. So again, if they could turn the girl with the dragon tattoo into a series, it could do well. If the next one did really well, then that would make sense. The next one, the other one would have more value, but it's a question mark. What are the chances of the product securing a hold in the market? How much will it cost to promote them to a stronger position? Is it worth it? Yep.
Is it like the crying game, like a sleeper? It didn't get traction, and then later on.
Yeah, but the crying game, there's not, you know, we're not going to see crying game 2, right? Right?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like at that moment.
Yeah.
It was small, and then it became.
Right. Well, that happens a lot of times with films. But the reason, you know, was it Sony, I think, embarked on the movie in the first place? It was a big bidding war because the books were so popular, right? So it was a big bidding war to get it. And what you were getting was, the hope was a franchise. Because in the realm of any kind of content, a franchise can be worth a lot of money. This past week, Lion King, the Broadway show, just crossed $6.2 billion in total sales. So all the sort of, you know, regional shows and the live stage and everything. So, and that's just a live show. So it was a movie that then became a live show, books, sheets, you know, lunch boxes. So, but that's what Sony was hoping it was going to be. They weren't saying we're going to have a sleeper hit. They weren't thinking they're going to have My Big Fat Greek Wedding. They thought it was going to be they wanted it to be a big hit that then they could say, here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, 5 years from now we'll sell you the box set, you know, we'll turn it into a TV show. But it's not that. Same thing out with the Muppets. They redid the Muppets, and it kind of did okay. You know, so it's like we're trying to revive the franchise of the Muppets, and we kind of did. So we don't know, like, do we do another one or not? Because it's a question mark. It wasn't like, oh yeah, it's clear it didn't work, or it's a dog, or it's a star. It's a problem child, and therefore that's the question mark. Do you spend money on that or not? So do you make another girl with a dragon tattoo? What do you say? Yes? No? What was that?
But you know what? I like the original.
You like the original. But did you see the second one? Did you see the David Fincher? No. So maybe no. All right? I mean, your answer probably, you actually, it would probably cost you, I don't know, $1.99 and you haven't done it. So probably your answer is probably no, right? And they probably will talk to people just like you. And you're like, I like the original. Should we make another? We're like, I don't know. You know, like do I want to see Rooney Mara? Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't know. So And that's where it's a question, that's where it's hard. And so what they'll probably say is, if we're going to do it, Mr. Fincher, you're going to do it at this price, not at the price you wanted to. And we're going to do it this way. And maybe we're going to do the second and third installment at the same time to cut our risk, because we don't want to really, we don't want to expose ourselves too much. Again, I don't know if that's what they're saying, but that's a hypothetical. And a star, high market share, high market growth, well established in growth is exciting, huge potential, should work hard to realize it, may have been expensive to develop, worth spending money to promote, consider the extent of their product life cycle in decision making. How long is that life cycle going to go on, right? So, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, is like, the product life cycles are really interesting too, and Apple is brilliant at this. It's like, you can look at the flow. It's like, it's the iPod, it's the iMac, and just as one's ending, there's another one starting. And it's hard to do, because over time, things do, the appeal of these things wears off, and you have to replace it with something else. And BlackBerry wasn't as good at that, right? They were able to keep the one, and it worked really well. But even as they talked in the reading, that success in some ways led to the entropy, or that sort of prison, because they were so afraid of losing that key that they couldn't let go to sort of explore something else. And again, it's so easy to say in hindsight. It's very hard when you're in the mix of it. All right, the cash cow, high market share, low growth. All right, so this thing does well for us, but it's not growing very much. So it's easy to get attention, exploiting new opportunities, only worth expending a certain amount of effort because the market isn't growing and your opportunities are limited. So it's probably not zero, but it's worth spending some money. Cheap to promote, generate large amounts of cash, and maybe you can use that money, and a lot of companies do this. They use the money from the cash cow to invest in research and development for new businesses, so then they can have their tomorrow's cash cow ready to go, because everything has a cycle. Costs of developing and promoting have largely gone. Need to monitor performance over the long term. And you'll see this, whether it's a beverage company or something like that, is they've got the one that really throws off, but then they're always trying new things and new things. They're trying to see what might work and sort of come up with new ways of doing things. So here's just a, there's. So you can kind of see, like, again, if you use the example of Apple or even Amazon, is there's these, or even movie franchises. It's like, at some point we can't take any more Spider-Man, but then maybe there's a new character you want to focus on, and that's what your people are always focused on, right? So they eventually kind of tap out, and so you want to have something else ready for it, because otherwise you're going to be, again, sorry to keep hitting on. BlackBerry. But if you don't have the other one that's coming up to follow it up, that's what happens. And then you're stuck here. And then you're like, do you want to see the new BlackBerry? And you don't, because you're already down here. But if you'd already said BlackBerry Touch, and so you keep the people you had, but you don't lose anybody. And then as this goes down, you're ready for that. But it's hard to do. Sorry. There's a lot more clicks on this than I thought. You get the benefit of this. I'm just going to click through, we have a few minutes of these types of leadership styles, and we can finish this off. So there's a lot of different ways of approaching leadership styles. There's a strategy approach, which we're sort of laying out now. There's a human assets approach, right, focusing on the people. There's an expertise approach, thing we'll call the box approach, and the change approach. So we'll start on these and we can finish them next week. So the strategy approach, sort of what we talked about, is believe their most important job is to create and test, implement a long-term strategy. So that's the idea of saying, what do we want to be in the long term? That's sort of laying out a long-term strategy. Allocate the resources, sort of like we talked about the points of departure and arrival, is sort of what a SWOT analysis is where are we today? Where do we want to get to, right? Where are we today? Where do we want to get to? 80% of the time is spent on matters external to the organization's operations. Customers, competitors, technology advances, and making trends. So it's like we have this ongoing organization, and I, the leader, am going to focus on the long term, the long period, and where we're going at a different time. And different organizations, different countries, Different people at different times require different things, right? Value employees that they can delegate day-to-day operations to, and so they can sort of really focus on the big picture, right? And again, sometimes what happens is you have a big picture thinker who gets mired in the day-to-day, or you've got someone who's probably good at the day-to-day management who gets mired in or is setting a long-term strategy and they're just not good at it. So I gave you the example of Blockbuster. Again, not that we want to keep hitting on that, but the person they put in charge of it was very good at the day-to-day. He had been very successful at 7-Eleven, very good at the day-to-day of running an operation to increase foot traffic and increase there, but wasn't probably set up to succeed at looking at the long-term vision of where things could or could not go. And that's sometimes it's either culturally set up, and again, we talked about 2 weeks ago about the difference over the more importance of strategy versus culture. And sometimes the strategy has to be to engender a good culture, and then the culture can foster a good strategy. Again, these are how these things can work together. A human assets approach, more decentralized, impart certain values, behaviors, and attitudes, spend majority of time in personnel-related matters, create a universe of satellite CEOs, value long-term employees who, quote, follow the company way. This is something that Starbucks has done pretty well. They have all this training about sort of conflict, about, when you walk into a Starbucks, if you're annoyed, they are trained to try to diffuse that annoyance. I was at a Starbucks, the one right on where Greenwich Street and 8th Avenue intersect. It's relatively new. And there was a very kind of peaceful looking guy who was, I guess, annoyed, but he was getting at the, where they have the milk canisters, and he turned around, and it's sort of a way, like the counter's there, and he was like, there's no milk. And they said, oh, we'll get that. He goes, who's running this bleep bleep place? And then he took it and he flung it at him. And I was like, whoa. And then he left. And I was like, okay. And they were kind of cool about it. Like, wow, okay. But, so I don't know why that is really relevant, but it's, but the point is they're trained, they're like mini CEOs, the manager of the Starbucks, because they're representing the brand, and when you walk in there, they're generally pretty nice, right? And they seem to be nice, and they seem to like it there. Same like with Whole Foods. Generally, in my experience, it's a pretty positive experience because they're representing it. And so they invest a lot. And again, Starbucks famously invests in insurance and tuition reimbursement for its employees because they want people to believe in that, because that is effectively the front line of their organization, right? Just like you're, to some degree, the front line of Apple's organization. So as long as you're pleasant and smart and effective and believe in what you're doing, that's good for Apple. And if you aren't, it's not good for Apple, right? So in many ways, you are representing the company and you enjoy it, and they incentivize you to do that, right?
Yeah, we talked about that a lot. It's our job to maintain the brand.
Yeah.
People walk in the door, they see blue shirts, they have high expectations.
Right, they come in with high expectations for the brand, and that was set by the vision of Steve Jobs. And now in this human assets approach, you are basically representing that brand. And you're representing a lot of things. You're representing sort of human, ideals or aspirations of a lot of people, and that's a really good thing to do. And it's real. It's not fake, right? And that's where you go into the idea of this vision and mission. Is if it's strong enough and you believe in it enough and it's supported, people believe it, right? And it's not fake. It's because it's real, right? Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah. So whereas you could easily, and we've all been to places. And increasingly I find this is true where you call any sort of telemarketing place, whether it's Delta Airlines or Comcast, and no disrespect to the people on the other line, they could care less, and you feel that. You feel they could care less. And you feel like then the company that you're calling about could also care less. And they've probably figured out people are buying on price, they don't really care, let's do it as low as possible. It's not really a relationship. There was the head of Swiss Airlines at one point. He talked about, these sort of moments of truth. customers always have these moments of truth. So meeting you is a moment of truth, and you are representing Apple. And so if that's a good example, then you're enhancing the Apple brand. If it's a bad, you're sort of chipping away at it. And so it's the same thing for anything. Whenever what you represent, and again, wherever you are, like you're representing yourself, A, so you always want to be representing yourself well, and then B, you're representing wherever you're working for. And so that is effectively a moment of truth. And if it's a good experience, you represent yourself and the organization you're working for. If it's a bad experience, you're not representing yourself well as a person or the organization.
If you get one promoter, you tell a friend, but if you get a detractor, you tell 10 people.
Yeah, that's a very good. So did you hear that? If you say it again.
If you get one promoter in a company, you tell a friend how good your experience was, but if you get one detractor, you tell 10, 20 people
Right.
how horrible your experience was.
Because you kind of want to vent, right? So and that's what and that's how you do it. Is you kind of want to vent. There's Dale Carnegie was the sort of the how to get sort of public speaking. And I was just reading this thing that my friend of mine had written about him, and he was saying that the way people that aren't good public speakers, how you get them to be good public speakers? Ask what makes you angry, and then it's like, oh, I'll tell you what makes me angry, and they're like, projecting, and their elocution's perfect because they've got an opinion about that. You're like, what makes you feel good? I don't know, I feel good. But if they want to tell people, you know what, Apple pisses me off. They're not so great, and they'll tell 10 people. You're right. Why don't we finish that? We'll come back next week. I'll look at your vision and missions and just do the reading, and then there's add into there's a discussion topic. Do that, and we'll see you next week. All right? Thank you. Oh yeah. Thanks. Thanks. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Someone have the attendance sheet?